This is the first video in a new series about travelling with a radio. Nowadays we can listen to radio stations from around the world at home, and if we go away we can carry on listening to our favourite stations and shows on the move. But I still find a simple pleasure in going somewhere in the UK or abroad, taking out a radio and seeing what's on. I've discovered many radio shows and songs from travels over the years, and I hope that this series will be something of a love letter to the personal travel radio. I'll also keep an eye out for TV and radio towers, and will try and share some stations I think are worth checking out. You can use the video chapters below to see the parts that you're interested in. This is episode 1, Germany. There are more than 470 radio stations in Germany, and around 52 million people listen to the radio during the week. There are public and commercial, or private, radio stations, as well as community and student offerings. DAB digital radio coverage has reached 98% of the population, although about 30% of listeners are using DAB radios. And there are a mix of national, regional and local stations. In this video I'll mostly be in Dresden, in the east of Germany, but to get there by train from Cologne there is a change at Berlin Ostbahnhof. This is the Berlin East railway station, not to be confused with the central station that opened in 2006. Outside of the front of the station you can see the Berlin TV Tower. The Fernsehturm was built in the 1960s by the German Democratic Republic next to Alexanderplatz in former East Berlin. It's the tallest structure in Germany with a height of 368 meters. The tower has a concrete shaft with a sphere at the top which has an observation deck and a revolving restaurant. National and local stations on DAB+ digital radio are transmitted from the tower. Back in the station and there's time to get out the radio, scan for stations and apologise for the pronunciations from here on out. First there are some national public radio stations from Deutschland Radio. Deutschlandfunk is a news and information station, and Deutschlandfunk Kultur offers cultural programmes and documentaries. On digital radio some of the bigger stations are 90s Radio, Nostalgie Radio, Radio Bob, Togo Radio and Oldie Antenna. There is also Classic Radio, which plays classical music, and Sunshine Live, which is a dance music station. There are almost 30 stations to choose from, broadcasting nationally with pop, rock, dance, oldies and more. Coming from the UK, I think the big difference you notice is how the lineup of stations changes depending on the region that you're in. There are 9 public broadcasting institutions, each serving a part of the country with TV and radio. They are members of ARD, a joint organisation of those public service broadcasters. If you're in Dresden, you'll be able to hear stations from MDR, but when we started our journey in Cologne, we'd have got the stations from WDR. Broadly speaking, each broadcaster offers a lineup of stations with some similarities, like a youth-oriented station, a pop and rock station, a classical music station, news, and so on. That means if you wanted to listen to a station like BBC Radio 1, you might start off with 1 Live from WDR in Cologne and switch to MDR Sputnik here in Dresden. After arriving in Dresden by train, it's about a 30-minute walk north to the River Elbe. Dresden is the capital of the state of Saxony in the east of the country. The city centre was reconstructed after World War II and it really is stunning. There are lots of famous landmarks, there's the church, the opera house, the castle. It's a fantastic city just to walk around and explore. So many things to take in. The term Silicon Saxony is used to refer to the high-tech sector in the state. In fact, on the channel we've reviewed some Technisat digital radios made in Germany, and Technisat has a manufacturing facility in Saxony. Looking east along the River Elbe, it's possible to see the Dresden TV Tower. Like the Berlin TV Tower, the Dresden Tower was built in the 1960s. At 252 meters tall, it's the second highest building in the former GDR after the Berlin TV Tower. Some national digital radio services are transmitted from the tower alongside FM services. New digital radio transmitters are still being switched on in Germany, and stations like Classic Radio are even switching off their FM transmitters in favour of digital broadcasts. So what might you find if you take your radio to Dresden? First, there are those national stations from the public and private broadcasters I mentioned earlier. Then you have a choice of stations for Saxony. There are the cultural, news and music stations from MDR, plus commercial stations like 89.0 RTL. There are also stations like Energy and Radio Dresden. Then in Dresden, at a more local level, there are stations like Apollo Radio, which I heard playing jazz when I tuned in, and Primal.fm, which plays EDM. I highly recommend the website vornort.org if you want to see everything that's available. A final difference to mention between the UK and Germany is the bit rates. In my listening, the lowest bit rate I saw was 72 kilobits per second, at DAB+, of course, and the highest I think was 112 kilobits per second. Having a look on the digital bitrate website, which is very good as well, there's a classical music station broadcasting at 144 kilobits per second DAB+. That number almost sounds frightening to tune into. As for my recommendations, I really liked the varied music on Ego FM. At the time of recording, the station is in insolvency and has raised over €180,000 from listeners and supporters who want to hear or see the station continue. Back in the UK, I listened to 1 Live, Antenne Bayern and SWR 3 too. If you want to start exploring stations from home, maybe before you visit Germany or if you're learning German, the German radio player has hundreds on its website and is a good place to start. Do you have a favourite radio station in Germany, or can you provide any information or corrections? Please leave a comment, and thank you for watching.